Hi, I'm Hunter Hillary Pentectinol, and I'd love to tell you a story about the first day I had as a videographer. I was nervous. I hadn't gone to film school. I hadn't really done anything with film before. I'd kind of fallen backwards into it because my mom wanted help recording her thesis, and she was going to get her degree in social work. I thought it was great. I started it, but the very first day I was really, really nervous. I had all the equipment. I was told where the shoot was, and I asked my boss before I left, before I walked out the door. I said, what's the best advice you can give me? And he said, he stood there, he thought about it, he thought for an extra second, he kind of nodded to himself, and then he said, never break two laws at the same time. You can be drunk and disorderly, you can be a public nuisance, but if you're both at the same time, they'll catch you. Now, it was the perfect advice for the moment. It made me laugh. It made me loosen up. It helped me center myself. It really helped out a nervous person on their first day. But the thing is, a year and a half, 2 years later, I thought of it again. I thought of it again because of two things. Because he said at the end of it, I remember laughing about him laughing about it with him later. Sorry, I'm tongue tied. But I remember he said it was the best advice my father ever gave me, and I just thought that was really sweet. But 2 years later, with that kind of had I guess gotten kind of tucked away in my head, and I hadn't really realized it because I was a little bit more experienced as a videographer. I kind of knew what I was doing, and I was helping to train a young videographer from a school. I was filming a varsity basketball game, and this young high school student, was a senior, getting ready to go out into the big wide world, and we set up the shot. I kind of walked her through the equipment. I told her where she could kind of talk to people, what I was doing, why I was doing it, and at the end, before I left, she said, "Hey, one last question. What's the best advice you can give me? I really want to be good at this." And for whatever reason, it occurred to me. I thought about it. I remembered that time that I was just talking to Alan, and he made me laugh, and he said something genuine and insightful, good or bad. I it just occurred to me that the way that question was phrased, the way it had been brought up, I had given him an opportunity to give me some lesson I needed to learn. And here was this young girl ready to go out into the big wide world, excited, full of talent and poise and creativity. She was really good at she picked up everything really fast, and she knew what she was doing, and she was excited about this, and she just wanted to know more. And I thought for a moment that I was, I think, 24, 25, and I was looking at this 17, 18-year-old youth. It's a weird thing to say, but it just occurred to me, the difference, the chasm between where I was at that point in my life, and then that second, that moment, and all the things I would have wanted to know. Everything that I wish had occurred to me, that I had known, that I had been equipped with before I went out on the journey that landed me here, talking to you and trying to fulfill my own dream. And so I looked at her, and I don't remember what I told her. I told her something useful. I said, I said something along the lines of, "Listen, you've got a talent for this. You're ready. You're excited. Don't lose that spark." And then I just said, "Listen, a lot's about to happen. The world's gonna fall on your head. The sky is coming down, and you don't see it yet. And it's gonna be great. And I wish I knew the exact words to tell you right now. And I didn't know, but all I could say was look up, something's coming. And it has stuck with me forever. It's two, 1.5, three, some amount of years later, but I have thought about that day more than is sane. It is stuck in the back of my head, just occurring over and again. Like I remember. Sorry, I remember when I was walking out. She helped me carry some of the gear out of the building, and I remember I said, "If ever I remember, if ever I remember this, if ever I can think of the perfect thing to tell you, I will." And hey, I made a promise and I'm in the sort of early stages of doing this northbound thing. So here it is. My honest, best advice that I think my life has given me. The thing that I wish I had known, the thing that I genuinely hope more people out in the world figure out, because it has just made my life better. Now, I'm going to be honest, it's a bit of a long walk, but like I said, I've had this trapped in my head forever, so I've kind of been building this case over a while, and I just really hope you'll be willing to tag along with me as I kind of walk you through this and get to a point that I think is just beneficial to everybody, and honestly, I hope I keep living by until the day I die. You gotta understand, and I'm thinking about this from the perspective of trying to talk to someone who is, leaving high school, going out, becoming an adult, doing the things that are really going to make a mark on their life. You gotta understand that the world doesn't trust you yet. And I don't mean people. That's a very important point here. People probably do trust you. There is a certain amount you just can't help, because when you're a child, unfortunately for you, you look like a child. And in those brief moments that you bump into a person on the street, they have 15 to 5 seconds to figure out who you are and how to deal with you. And 9 times out of 10, that probably meant you were written off. That's not what I'm talking about. Every child knows what that feels like. Everyone who's ever been a kid, and I have bad news because that's just about all of us, knows what it's like to just be ignored. That's not what I mean. I mean that there are systems in place that have been either invisible to you or that have been on top of you your whole life thus far. And it's not felt great, and how am I trying to say this? When you talk to a bank, when you go to City Hall, if you ever lodge a complaint, if you ever try to get a loan, if you ever try to, I don't know, anything you need to do, go to the doctor, get a procedure, anything like that. Anytime you go to the larger systems of the world, you are at the end of the day not talking to a person. I firmly believe this. I firmly believe that when you are talking to a clerk at City Hall, you are talking to a banker, and they might eventually be the person that signs a piece of paper with you, but they're going to have to open up a rule book, go back through their memory, and look at how they have been told to do this job and how they think they can do it the best for the interest of whatever organization you're looking at, and that will be the thing that makes the decision, not the person. There is shockingly little room, more than you'd think, but little room for individuals in the systems of society. A judge isn't a person, they are the law. A doctor is the hospital and their degree, not always an individual. And that mold gets broken all of the time, and that's a good thing sometimes. But it's also a good thing that the world is this way, that these systems exist, because and honestly, I gotta tell you, that is the hardest pill to swallow. In my mind, the thing that it hurts to realize and to accept is that things should be this way, because basically what it boils down to is that rules have to be stronger than people. It's the only way that any of this works. If people can just ignore the rules, if we refuse to accept them or acknowledge them or follow them, then they aren't rules, they're just a tyranny. They're something one person uses to control everyone else. If it is a blanket, equal application, which we can argue if it always is, and I would love to have those arguments one day, but for the purposes of our conversation, I think it's fair to accept that your school board, that your local or federal government, that your doctor's office, that your bank, that whatever college you are going to, whatever auto shop you get your car from, all of those are systems, not necessarily people. They are staffed by people, and those people do their best. Don't get me wrong. But they are people following rules, and at a certain point, they can't really break them. Why that's unfortunate for you, and why I bring that up, is because if you're young, you aren't trusted by those rules. People can trust you. You can get to know somebody. You can find a guidance counselor who is really passionate about you and willing to go the extra mile to help you, but the law isn't going to know the difference. The rules aren't going to sort you out. You've been filtered. You're stopped. You need a parent's signature. You need something extra. People have been talking to you your whole life. Agencies, organizations, these sort of formless systems haven't. They just haven't. You haven't been dealing with them. And once again, that's been okay. Hopefully, because they're there to try and keep you safe, to give you the room you need to put together all the things that make you a person. Everyone's stupid when they're young, and we have, as a society, worked really, really hard to try and find ways to protect us from ourselves until we get to the point where society has kind of decided that you're okay, that you can make these kinds of decisions. And that is the point that you are in your life. And that's a problem. Because, well, it's a lot. It's a lot. Making your own car payments, figuring out your own rent, going to school, being responsible for your own schedule, picking your own hobbies, getting a job. All of those things are things you do as part of the system, because all of a sudden, it's willing to talk to you. All at once, it recognizes you're there. You can buy your own car. You can go away. You can leave. You can get a new house. You can move on your own. You can get a bank loan for absurd amounts of money that'll cripple you forever. You can pick what college you can go to. There's so much that you have suddenly been empowered to do, not because some magic switch got flipped, but just because you are now present in the eyes of these systems. And again, these systems exist for a reason. It's good that the rules are stronger than people. If anyone says they're more powerful than the rules you have to live by, do not trust them. Believe in no king. That's fundamentally important. It's an easy way to spot a liar. It's an even easier way to spot a thief. Here's what I'm trying to say. The world is now open to you, and it helps to know why things make the decision they do. It helps to recognize that yes, a vast amount of power is suddenly at your fingertips if you know how to get it, and maybe you're lucky enough that you know how to do that. Maybe your parents, your guardians, your school system, whatever it is that has helped guide you to this point has done a good job of what it's supposed to do, keeping you safe and getting you ready. If it hasn't, if it has not been kind to you, if you have been that painful and tragic sort of unlucky, I am sorry. And frankly, you're probably smarter than I am in the ways of the world if you've made it that far. If that's you, I'm impressed. I'm proud of you. And if you've held it together this long, you probably have this. That's all I can tell you. But for everyone else, for the me's of the world that were okay enough, that the system worked as much as it knew how to, and it doesn't. It doesn't always, even when it does go right. You gotta understand just how much power is in front of you, and more importantly, just how much agency you have been handed, how much available damage is open to you that you are now capable of. You are all of the sudden capable of making some of the worst mistakes of your life. Crashing a car, spending money the wrong way, treating people wrong, being a menace to society. There's a million ways that are suddenly available to you because your hand isn't being held, and because these systems now see you, that there is just so much that can go wrong. And the scary thing is, it's not just for you. One of the most horrifying parts of being a human being in this life, in this world, is that you almost have greater, in fact, I would argue you definitively have the greater capacity to harm others than you do yourself. It's that there's a lot of ways that you can utterly destroy yourself that are, I don't think YouTube would appreciate me talking about. Trust me when I tell you that, yes, it's true that hurt people hurt people. But man, the kinds of raw hell you can bring down on someone else if you're, it's not even not careful, if you're not thinking. It sucks. And there's a lot of people who aren't gonna care. And that's scary. A lot of this is scary. And here's the thing, I gotta tell you, none of this is the advice I want to give. This is just my best attempt to paint a picture of a way that I have come to understand that the world is, and the simple answer is that it's a scary place. That you are way more powerful, that you are stronger, that you are more capable than you realize, and that humanity's capacity for evil is possibly only matched by our capacity for good. And not everyone's going to care about the difference. That's the world you live in. It's big, and it's scary, and it's harsh. So here's the advice I have for you. Here's the thing I want you to take away from this. There are a million of the worst mistakes you can make. I would humbly advise you to make none of those, and instead, make all of the best mistakes you can make. I fundamentally think that fear is probably a good thing, that nerves are okay to listen to every now and again, but not all of the time. You are going to integrate yourself into the world. You are going to be just like those clerks and tellers and politicians and judges and police officers, all of the people whose job it is to follow the rules. You are going to be one of the people for whom the rules are stronger than you, and that's good, and that's how this whole mess works. But it's not everything. That's the beauty of it. I cannot tell you how good it is for you to make mistakes, to go wild, to be a little bit crazy in the right way. That is all. That's the whole game. That there's nothing more to it. All you gotta do, the only thing you ever really need to learn is what kinds of mistakes you can walk away from and the ones you should do, those crazy things that your life just would not be the same without. I promise you, those are the days you remember. I promise you, those are the avenues in life that will lead you to the most fulfillment. Go out there, buy a plane ticket to see the Aurora Borealis, go to a concert, talk to the person you've had a crush on forever and you're just too nervous to talk to. You know, wake up one day after having gone a little bit too crazy at a party the day before. Fall in love. That's insane. You'll get more hurt than you knew was possible, and you'll be so happy you did one day. The world is crazy. Go on a trip. See the Grand Canyon. I don't know. Do something. Learn a language. Learn to dance. Pick up a skill you've never seen before. Have someone say, hey, do you want to go to this? And just say yes. Wake up too early and watch the sunrise. Stay up and watch the sunset. Just have a weird kind of party. Do something you're uncomfortable with. Step out of your comfort zone. Grab this wild ride by the horns and do something you will never forget. And what you need to take away are two things. The best memory you will ever have, and knowing at the end of it whether or not it was the right thing to do. And honestly, it could be the wrong thing to do. You don't have to care, because the way you navigate this mess is by figuring out the beautiful things you can do that hurt no one. In fact, the crazy things that you can accomplish or the split-second decisions you can make that will elevate your entire life. It's just better. It's just better to watch the stars for a night, or to go flower picking, just to smell the roses, to go hiking, or you know, some crazy challenge. Go see Mount Everest. Go do something. Go do something foolish. Yeah, that vacation's expensive. You can make more money. You can't make more time. You fall in love. Take the leap. You know what? It could go badly, but if it doesn't, it's perfect. And if it does, you learned something. The mistakes you make, the stories you have that it's like, man, I shouldn't have done that, but you say it with a smile. And so long as everyone walked away okay, so long as you weren't the impetus for someone else's destruction, you've done great. Not only have you done great, your life is better. You are better. Do it. Just be foolish. Stay young in that small childish way. Never let the spark leave you. That, if you can hold on to it, if you can stay just the right kind of unhinged, just a little bit, not all of the time, just when you can, just when it's right, you will learn. You will get better at it, and you will start looking at the decisions in front of you and the decisions you've never even thought of to hop in a car with your best friend and just go on a trip some weekend, you will start piecing together a compass that I'd like to call wisdom. Just something you can use to navigate how to make the best decisions of your life. And equally important, if you can do this, I promise you, you will be able to stand the test of madness, of time, of changing days and falling empires and every crazy thing, the pandemic, the the storms, the hurricane, a horrible event happening in your life, the passing of a loved one. If you have seen the world, if you have experienced life to its fullest, it has made you solid, sturdy enough to not get blown over, hardy enough to weather the storm. And that internal strength, that calm, that self-assured ability to handle every curveball that comes at you, and I promise they don't stop coming. Once you can handle those, you can handle just all of it, the whole thing. Those days, those nights where something has gone wrong, where you end up in a hospital and you do something you shouldn't, even the times when you do unknowingly hurt someone, you learn what it was like, you learn how to help them, and you'll be better for it. You will be better. It will teach you every lesson you can learn. And that's why I think it's the best advice I can give. The ability to learn the things you need to, the way you need to, in a way you will never forget. If you're out there, I'm not going to name you on the internet, but if you're out there, if you remember my 1,000-yard stare as I tried to put together just something that was useful to you, I'm impressed. And honestly, I hope you're there already. And if you are, just do it more. Really lean into it. Lean into the lessons you've learned. Trust the instincts you've been building with every mistake you've ever made. There's a beautiful quote I heard once that an artist's style is just the answer to every problem that they've ever solved. That's what life is. Do that. You'll live a good life. One you will never regret having done, even if you regret certain days, even if you regret certain moments, even if something haunts you, you will be stronger than the pain. And live a life worth living, I guess. Yeah, man. Make the best mistakes you can make. I'm Hunter Hillary Pendragon Nault, and this was a story I was happy to tell you. See you next time.